The wagon carrying the dying Anthony proceeded slowly along the ancient Roman road leading to Padua, which was paved with large stones that continually made the vehicle wobble from side to side. Friar Luca and Friar Ruggero followed with hearts full of grief. The heat was unbearable. Anthony was so absorbed in prayer that he felt neither the weight of his aching limbs, nor the blinding light, nor the constant shaking of the wagon. At one point, he seemed to stop breathing.
I watched him continuously, and when I noticed that he was no longer breathing, I immediately jumped onto the wagon and lifted his torso. To my relief, Anthony started breathing again. Anthony, please stay with us. Don't leave us. I moaned through my tears. Ruggero, what are you worrying about? He told me. I will always be with you, with all those who have loved me and will love me. I embraced him and then held him up for the rest of the journey so that he could breathe better.
They were now close to Padua when they met Brother Vinotto, who was on his way to Campo San Piero to visit Anthony. In one glance, Vinotto immediately understood that St. Anthony was at the end. In that state, he would never make it alive to the friary of Santa Maria, even though it was only a couple of miles away. And then, what would happen when people saw him crossing the city in that condition? It was not really possible. Having listened to Vinotto's reasoning, the friars decided to take Anthony to the small friary of Arcella, next to the Poor Clare monastery. The local friars received him with great care and affection and placed him in one of their cells. When Anthony recovered just a little bit, he asked to be absolved of his sins.
How could one confess a saint? I, a man unworthy and full of sins. How could I absolve him who for me had been a worthy follower of Francis, who had been willing to follow step by step the path laid out by the Lord? I listened to his words and felt my heart filled with infinite joy. His beautiful soul was ready for the great leap towards the one who loves us with boundless love. At the moment of giving him a solution, I felt Jesus' hand over mine and understood that this is how it should be whenever I absolve a penitent.
This is the little cell where all this happened that late afternoon of June 13th, 1231. Anthony's voice was very weak and was gradually fading. However, after confession, he wanted to sing with his brothers his favorite hymn to the Virgin Mary, "O Glorious Lady, exalted above the stars." Singing the hymn at one point, the saint raised his eyes to heaven.
I was supporting him so that he could breathe better, when I noticed that Anthony's eyes had brightened and he was looking up at the point above. "What is it, Anthony? What do you see?" He looked at me, squeezed my hand, and with a smile said, "I see my Lord." A little more time passed, punctuated by our prayers and by his breathing, which became slower and slower until he stopped.
Outside the friary, evening was falling and finally brought everyone some refreshment after the intense heat. In the small cell, meanwhile, the friars were praying while Anthony, who seemed to be sleeping, seemed immersed in a happy dream, a dream that had now become reality for him. The Church teaches us that those close to death should be treated with respect and care because they are members of Christ's body and as such participate in his suffering and death. We therefore pray that St. Anthony will intercede for them. Dear St. Anthony, turn your merciful gaze upon those who are near earthly death and grant that they may face it with serenity, knowing that they will soon be welcomed into the kingdom of heaven. Amen.